Let's take a look at the consequences of the Cuban Missile Crisis. After the Cuban Missile Crisis, there were many consequences, both long-term and short-term. What were the short-term consequences? 1. Cuba survived as a communist country, and Kennedy assured the world that the USA would never invade Cuba. Kennedy's public appeal improved, but the Soviet Union looked weak. The world did not know that the US had removed some of their missiles from locations in Turkey. So the world knew that the Soviet Union had removed their warheads from Cuba, but they didn't know that the USA had also done the same thing. The USA did not boast victory, and the USSR did not reveal that the USA had removed these missiles from Turkey. Khrushchev was ousted as the Soviet leader in 1964. So what were the long-term consequences? There was a move towards detente, which is a more relaxed relationship between the East and the West. Kennedy wanted to focus more on the common interests between the two countries. After the Cuban Missile Crisis, a hotline was set up between the US President in the White House and the Russian leader in the Kremlin. This would help to avoid instances like the Cuban Missile Crisis from happening again. In August 1963, the Limited Test Ban Treaty was signed. Both sides agreed that only underground tests of nuclear weapons would be allowed. The Soviets still continued to get as many and as powerful nuclear weapons as the USA. They achieved this in 1965. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 agreed to limit the use of nuclear weapons in space. In 1968, both countries signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. This agreed that nuclear weapons could not be given to any other countries. So let's take a look at those short-term consequences again. Cuba survived as a communist community. The USA assured the world that it would not invade Cuba, and Khrushchev was ousted as Soviet leader.